Hey Monica, I really liked seeing your journals and calendars last week and hearing your stories about your experiences with them in your past and your totes full of them and lots of really interesting details about yours. Mine are different. I thought I'd go ahead and share with you what my journaling process looks like. I have my daily pages, which is just these 19-cent notebooks that you can get during the back to school specials. And it's a different color every time, and sometimes it's wide ruled and sometimes it's not. And I really like these, especially because I can just not worry about the quality of my writing or how pretty it is. It's really rather messy and it has lots of other stuff in it. And it doesn't really matter because it's 19 cents, and that somehow frees me up from the pressure of it being beautiful, and so I would feel the need for it to be beautiful on the inside too, which would keep me from actually getting my thoughts down. So the fact that it only cost me 20 cents is a relief. And then over here, I did spend a little more money on this. I think this is like a $10, $15 planner, and it has the elastic band, which I find useful. And then I went ahead and I gunned these elastic tabs in here so I could have a pen with it, because I always wanted to have a pen handy. There's nothing worse than carrying a journal around with you, but you don't have anything to write in with it. And I have this little pocket, and I can keep a tiny little straight edge measuring device, so I could, if I want to, be pretty in here. And I actually wish this was a bullet journal, because I use it for bullet journaling, but it's lined paper. And the thing was is that I wanted something that had a flexible cover, and they didn't have any bullet journals that were of this smaller size with the flexible cover. So I was very particular about the size and the shape and the way it felt, and the fact that it had this rubber band, and all that combined meant that I had to go with lined pages. And I started out bullet journaling just like the guy, what's his name, writer, once explains how to bullet journal, where you have an index and you have all the stuff. And this is like a couple of years ago. And they had lots of that, and there's the future log stuff, and then you get into like different notes that I took off of different blogs and projects I did at church, and practicing I did with different kinds of calligraphy. And I was getting all excited that bullet journaling was going to be something of an art form. And then of course I had like days of the week, and I had month and all the stuff that would happen during the month. And I was faithful for a while, and then I would skip a couple of months. And the great thing I loved about the bullet journal is that the next page is blank. So I also was relieved from the burden of having to do something I didn't want to do. So if there was a month or two that I didn't want a bullet journal, I didn't need to. And that was a huge relief for me too, and it allows me to come back 6 months later and just start right back where I left off. And I don't know, there seems to be a lot of guilt for me in planners that don't get used, and a lot of pressure to use planners for just to use them because I had already invested in them. I think it's really interesting that calendars and journals, you can buy them specifically because they have just the right structure, and they are things that matter to you, and they're of high quality, and they're really nice. But for me, those things actually get in the way, and I find it much easier to engage in the process when it's a thing that I spent very little money on, and that doesn't matter, and that has almost no structure. I'm wondering, is there anything in your life that you get specifically because it doesn't matter, and because it's not a nice version of, and because it doesn't need to be used as prescribed, that gives you all of the freedom and none of the pressure, and that actually helps? I'll talk to you next week.